much, ladies and gentlemen, for waiting. We would like to reconvene. At this moment, we would like to invite Executive Vice President of University of Tokyo, Mr. Sugano Akira, to make a keynote speech. Please welcome him with a round of applause. Thank you for the introduction. As has been introduced, I'm from University of Tokyo. I serve as CFO of the university. My name is Sugano. I'm here talking about up until 2 years ago. For 40 years, up until 2 years ago, I worked for financial institutions as an investment banker and so forth. And I counted for 26 years out of that, I was engaged in asset management. So that's my career, my CV. Why is the CFO of University of Tokyo here? That's because of my background, my career, prior to the current position, if you could understand. So Japanese asset management industry compared to the West attracts less attention, I believe. As a person who's been in this industry for a very long, that's been unfortunate. But under then Prime Minister Kishida's administration, a trend started to change. And asset management became a more important industry in the eyes of the government, which is something that I believe is good. And Prime Minister Ishiba, in his policy speech today, said that he's looking to strengthen asset management industry going forward. And so across different political administrations, this industry is going to be strengthened, which is reassuring. And in December 2023, the government formulated an implementation plan to make Japan a major leading asset management hub and investment chain enhancement. Its importance was clearly noted. And of the actors within investment chain, we needed to have principles for the actors, and the working group for setting asset owners' principles was inaugurated. I became one of the working group members. And it was my first time to participate in a government advisory panel such as that one. When I first attended their meeting, I was surprised. Why was I surprised? There were 5 members on the working group, but the number is relatively small for a government panel. In some cases, there are dozens of members, and they're allowed to speak only once during one meeting. There were 5 members only. But then there were observers, 30 observers or so, or those accompanying the members, which was surprising. And this working group was placed under the Cabinet Office. And asset management is regulated by a number of ministries: JFSA, MHLW, MOF, MEXT, METI. There were so many officials from so many different ministries. And so to put together a set of principles, given this wide range of regulatory ministries, it must be very difficult to come to a consensus, I thought. But discussions moved quite successfully. And in August 2024, asset owner principles were formulated successfully. About enhancement of asset management business within the investment chain for listed companies who are investees. There was a corporate governance code for asset managers. We have had stewardship code. For securities brokerage firms and banks, we had FIEA. So for each part of the investment chain, individual response has been made. But the remaining piece, the last piece that was remaining within the investment chain was asset owners. And asset owners' principles were formulated for them in order to enhance the baseline of asset management. In order to enhance asset management business here in Japan, the most critical component is to enhance asset owners. I've always said that. And at the risk of misunderstood, I would dare to say that Japanese asset owners come in a gambit. their levels differ. For the past 20 years, there was low inflation, low interest rate, and many of the asset owners indulged themselves in a world of low risk, low return. But with inflation, if they continue to engage in low risk return, the beneficiaries' return will become negative. There are lots of asset owners who do not have sufficient risk management or asset management capabilities, but if they go on to take risk blindly after return, then they could end up suffering losses. And another major change is on the part of the beneficiaries or individuals. Their literacy has improved. So the number of retail investment accounts, including those under new NISA introduced last year, 16 million. There are 16 million accounts. That's 20% of the 18-year-olds population in Japan. So it has expanded on a whole different dimension. It has just begun, but the low literacy of Japanese individuals, that was often pointed out as a problem. And this development, I think, could be a starting point for resolving this issue. And so what does this signify in terms of asset owners? So new NISA, under that scheme, individuals or retail investors can invest on their own. But there are asset owners as well who invest on others' behalf, and they need to perform fiduciary's duty. And that will be scrutinized even more strictly. So beneficiaries whose literacy has improved, in view of that, asset owners will have to provide information that can be compared to their peers in the industry. Comparative information needs to be provided to the beneficiaries so that they can meet the beneficiaries' need. And this is in Principle 4 of Asset Owners' Principles. Asset owners doing their duty, performing their duty. Under the principles, it's the regulatory agencies who need to monitor and oversee that. But I think retail investors also need to perform checks on that as well. A dual check or double check system must be the way to go from my perspective. So with increased quality of asset owners, the requirements for asset managers will increase. And when that happens, I think engagement with the investees, corporations will also be enhanced. So end to end within the investment chain, enhancement will happen across the board. And so enhancement of asset owners is very critical in that regard to push up the level of the whole investment chain. So as an asset owner, well, I'm with an asset owner, which is University of Tokyo. I'm responsible for asset management there. So let me talk about that. University of Tokyo has embraced and accepted asset owners' principles. Well, as I said, I was one of the working group members, so there's no question as to whether UT will accept it. We will, of course. And so we have accepted to apply asset owners' principles to our endowment. And compared to private universities who have led the effort, national universities such as ours were behind when it comes to asset management because of regulation from MEXT. Most of endowment investment was based on a JGB, rather ladder investment. There's no investment scheme or experts available. And so we've had to receive advisory from external consultants, and an investment committee had to be set up involving internal and external experts. And ultimate responsibility became unclear as a result. And UT was among the first among the national universities to take a step. And we invited, in April 2023, we invited a CIO who's a former employee of BlackRock, a foreign affiliated institution, and we moved to a yield type investment. So 60% of assets invested in alternatives, 20% listed equities, and 20% bonds to aim for a investment return of 5%. We call it enhanced portfolio. And so we have changed our approach. We achieved a return of 11% last year, and there was a major reduction or a correction in August last year, so it was difficult, but we are now close to 5%. So for a little less than 2 years, we're achieving these positive returns. I think this approach has proven to be effective. And at national universities, experts are invited to try to enhance the level of their financials. Tohoku University, Tsukuba University, Osaka University, Kyushu University, Chiba University. These national universities are now inviting CFOs from the outside, from the financial services industry as experts. So national universities were very slow to change in the past, but now finally we are changing. So the enhancement of university investment has just begun. The greatest problem is the fact that the size of asset management is very small. So the enhanced portfolio that we have is a size of 50 billion at our university. If we look at other national universities, it ranges between 5 billion to 10 billion, very small in terms of size. And because of the structure here, it's difficult to expand it. If we look at the West in particular, U.S., they invest much more greater funds. Because of Forex, it's greater now, but at Harvard, 4.5 trillion, Yale, 3.3 trillion yen, Stanford, 3 trillion yen, and a state university in the U.S., which is similar to National University in Japan, UC Berkeley, 500 billion. UK is following in the footsteps of the U.S., Oxford, 800 billion, Cambridge, 400 billion. So they are managing a much larger funds, 10 to 100 times more than our universities here. So Harvard, Yale, Stanford, which have huge amounts of investment, they have their own subsidiary dedicated to endowment investment. Not just CIO, but they have CEOs, CFOs, CROs at their management company. They have a team of 200. In the case of Stanford, they have a dedicated board for this. And the CEO has to report to that dedicated board. And the university's CFO or president is not involved in that. So where endowment size is very large, they would allocate to the fund at university so that they can increase funding for research, education, and scholarships. And it has not been easy for us, but these universities are able to do so. So 220 billion out of the proceeds of asset management is included as part of their budget. And UT's whole budget is 220, so you can see how much they're making out of the return. And let me share with you an episode before I close. So Yale University's endowment at such a advanced endowment, highly professional, highly sophisticated investment is made. Let me share with you an actual example. A private equity asset manager, their CEO told me several years ago, CIO David Swenson, who's passed away, he came visiting the PE firm. I would like to make an investment in a fund. How much can you offer? He asked. In other words, at the time of the visit, the private manager was an emerging manager. It was not globally known, but he visited saying that due diligence was already done and how much can the private asset manager offer. Well, Japanese investors, they would not do such global due diligence, and they would usually talk about restrictions and constraints as to the percentage of investment. And so this person, the CEO of the asset manager, said that he was surprised. So Yale has a professional team and a huge size of investment. UT would like to do the same soon so that we can contribute to our research and education activities, but also contribute to the growth of global managers here in Japan. And that is the position that we aspire to occupy in the future soon. That concludes my remarks. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please send him off with a large round of applause.